what's going on with IamSarine? Welcome back to my channel. I am Serene, and today's video is a review of Married at First Sight season 15 episode 9.
This is Married at First Sight.
And yo, I actually don't even know which couple I think is gonna make it. And even if they do say yes at decision day, which one would actually last? Because the cracks are beginning to show. Like, it's really turning out to be very interesting. It's interesting to see people's personalities coming out more. No, I don't know how much of this is just editing and what producers doing what they want us, or showing us what they want us to see. But yo, it's very interesting. But we're gonna start with Morgan and Ben. And they open up the episode with Morgan being in the gym at 7:30 a.m. in the morning on the weekend. Sis, people that go to the gym in the morning time, are you guys really liking going to the gym? Because who don't want to sleep? Like, who don't want to sleep? Like, my fiance, he goes to the gym in the morning, or like does some exercise, running or something, and I'm like, who is waking up that early to do that? Yo, it is not for me. But you know, she was in the gym, Ben was confused, it's fine. But the episode before, Kirsten was telling them that, you know, for them to get back to where they want to be or where they were, maybe they should try going on a date or something. So Morgan did a mermaid date. I thought that was so interesting. And at first I was like, is Ben gonna do it? But he did. And they looked like they had fun, and it was starting to like really bring some life back to the relationship. But, you know, we don't know how far that got. If you watch this episode, we don't know how far that really is gonna help stuff. Okay, cool. So they received, I think all of the couples received like a package, you know, for them to discuss love, basically. And Ben was like, he's never been in love. And I was like, oh. Like, after a certain age, I feel like everyone should have experienced love, stroke, heartbreak. I think it's necessary. It builds character. So for him to get to that age and never been in love, but then it makes sense because of how he speaks to her in terms of like the things that he say. And you'll see what I mean as we go forward along into the episode and we discuss them, right? But it kind of makes sense that he's never been in love, because sometimes I feel like he doesn't know if he's talking to a woman or not. Okay. So yeah, so he's just like, he's never been in love. But then Morgan was reminiscing about her ex that she thought really loved her. And I found it interesting because this was the first time I've ever seen her so happy. And I thought that, not that I thought it was weird, but I was just really looking at that interaction as like, oh, well, that's interesting, because she looked genuinely happy to discuss her ex-partner and the love that he had for her. So I was like, okay, we'll see how this really plays out and pans out. But, you know, they spoke about, you know, Ben eventually just opens up again, apologizing about having that conversation about finances and family. And, you know, he likened it to his immigrant parents and, you know, the way he was raised and stuff like that. And, like, basically discussing what his relationship with money looks like and why it's important, because basically that's where he finds his value. And I get it, because, you know, as immigrants, you go to the big world and you're trying to make it, and a lot of your value comes from not failing, and not failing in the deterioration of your family, and not failing in having no money. So, you know, certain jobs are praised, your progression in life, and, you know, what your wealth looks like is what kind of brings you value. So I kind of understand his like turmoil or like battle with something like that, and why it would be very important. And then all the couples had like a date with Dr. Pia or Nia, something. Yeah, I don't remember her name, but you know, they're talking about their relationship, and she's saying, like, Morgan, that is, she's saying that they're moving from the red section, which is distrust and disrespect or whatever, and going into that amber section. And it was nice to hear, but I really don't know what about her just can't let that whole "you're not a nurse" thing go. But okay, cool. They're moving on, they're getting too happy, and they're both agreeing that they are getting too happy. Child, when we get to the end of the episode and they give the previews for the next episode, Morgan is storming out the house. Ben is topless and confused, child, walking down the hallway lost because Morgan is walking away and saying, "You did it again. Alexis told me everything." And I'm trying to think to myself, Alexis, first of all, don't get involved. I don't see why you're telling Morgan anything. Mind the business that pays you, and mind your relationship that is also deteriorating over there in the corner with Mr. Justin. So now we're going to talk about Lindy and Miguel. Now, the episodes with Lindy and Miguel open up with Miguel meeting his friend Steve, and Steve basically saying like, "Yo, Lindy, a red flag. She was crying because you won't put her on your insurance. Are you sure you're looking at her with the right type of eyes?" But he did mention to his friend like, "Oh, potentially, maybe I haven't been really looking for flags anymore, because there are feelings involved." Because we all know how she operated over the whole, "How do you expect me to take your last name and you can't help me find a physician?" And my stance on this. Why the hell you don't got health insurance yet that you need to be on his health insurance? That's what we would like to know. That's what the people would like to know. But, that's that. But Miguel said he's ready to turn back on his red flag identificator, his red flag detector, because his friend is now saying like, "Yo, you probably need to watch this," because she did have a meltdown, and apparently the friend didn't appreciate the fact that she had that meltdown about the insurance, which I found interesting. They seem so very protective of Miguel to the point where they're not allowing him to, or it feels like they're not allowing him to make the mistakes that he needs to make in a relationship. Like, relationships are going to have arguments. I don't think that's an argument they should have had, tried, but at least we know relationships will have arguments. So, okay. Then I think him and Lindy had this conversation about what forgiveness in a relationship looks like, and basically tit for tat stuff and keeping score. And Miguel was just like, "I am not taking a truckload of stress for nobody, anybody." And Lindy looked surprised, and she was just like, "Yeah, but I feel like there should be some kind of grace that's in a relationship." And yes, I do think there is grace that's in a relationship, but I feel like that grace eventually runs out. You can't just continuously forgive someone that is mistreating you. And I know there's different things that go into that, but in this stage of where they are, strangers, yeah, I don't think a lot of grace should be given, because this person, it could really just get worse. But they'll figure it out. But she looked kind of thingy. But he said, "If you show me that you're crazy, then I'm gonna head out." And I get that, because we don't do crazy. I don't do crazy. And so I was like, "Miguel, don't do crazy." And she looked so confused about that mentality. And he asked her like, "Would you give me grace if I continue to do something?" And she said yes. And he looked confused about that answer. And that just means that they're not on the same page when it comes to what forgiveness looks like, or what grace in a relationship looks like, and what passes they're willing to give each other. And I guess that's okay. That's not the worst thing that can happen in a relationship, because they're two different individuals. I think that's fine. But Lindy, at the same time, has a point, which is you don't keep score. And that is true. Like, every morning, that slate is supposed to be wiped clean. You don't keep score where, okay, you did me this, so then I do you this. And it's not tit for tat. It's not a balancing act. You have to forgive your partner. So I get where she's coming from. So then we get to the couples session, and basically we didn't really find out from Miguel what issues he was having, but basically Lindy said that she doesn't feel like she can be her authentic self. Now, when she said that, I was like, I know, because you keep giggling, and I know she seems to be happy, but she keeps giggling, and the giggling is like, I almost feel like she's not paying attention to what she's supposed to pay attention to. And she's now confessing that she doesn't feel like she can be exactly who she wants to be. No, she keeps saying that Miguel has not seen her crazy side, child. And I would like to know what this crazy side is, because she is saying that she's keeping that crazy side at bay out of respect for him. But what is this crazy side? What do you do, Lindy? I don't want to necessarily see the crazy side, but I would like to understand what that crazy side is that she feels like she doesn't feel like she's being authentic enough, because she feels if she shows the crazy side, Miguel is hitting the road and not coming back. But we shall see if it comes out in time, because if she thinks there's a crazy side, it's better for it to come out on this side of decision date than on the other side of decision date. So hopefully we get to see some of that crazy side. Now we go to Justice and Alexis and Justice. And let me tell you, when she went on her honeymoon and she was just like, oh, people are saying marriages is so hard, I'm waiting for the hard part. Girl, you are going through the fire and the floods at the moment. And on one end, I want to really sympathize with Justin and try to be like, Alexis, give him time. On the other hand, I fully understand Alexis's standpoint. So let's get into it. They're having a love conversation. Justice says that he thought he was in love, and he thought he was in love because he was with someone that he was willing to do anything for and everything for, and he got to the point where he became a yes man for that person. He neglected himself, and that's what he thought, that he was in love. And Alexis asked him a question like, do you think this stemmed from your parents and the relationship you had with them? And he did say, yeah, his relationship with his dad was one-sided. He always tried to shower his dad with love in hopes that he would receive it back, but he didn't. And I feel like a lot of the way that adults date comes from the relationship that they had with their parents and what that looks like, until you can then break free of that, heal from that, and then find the more healthier way to do it, Okay, so he said that. He then asked Alexis to tell him how much she loves him, because she said that she'd been in love before. And for her, when she loves, she's not one of those people like the love would ever really go away. Like the love stays with her, because when she says it, she means it. So he's like, oh, tell me how much you love me. And she was just like, I can't do that right now because I'm not comfortable. And I'm not comfortable because at the moment I don't necessarily trust you. Is that what she said? Yeah, she said she doesn't necessarily, I think that's what she said. She doesn't necessarily feel comfortable and she doesn't necessarily trust him at the moment. And he looked hurt, but I understand, because one, they are strangers. And two, she doesn't know what really to feel. At least that's the impression I'm getting, because of how everything has transpired. She brought up the candy shop incident, and he dealt with that very poorly. Like, this was her dog. Like, this is her child. This is her the only thing that she has that is familiar to the past life that she had. And he kept everything to himself because he was handling it. And then he told her, well, okay, if then the problem is me communicating, then I won't communicate at all. He dealt with that so poorly. And that, I could understand why that would make her retreat. So I think they had a date, and she asked him, like, if we weren't married, would you still be sticking around now based on everything that's happened? He said yes. And he returned the question, and she was just like, no, being married is making her put in more work. And I was like, girl, I get it. She was just like, yeah, she's putting in more effort now, because she's normally a get up and go person. And yo, I get it, because I was that person. I'm a leave you type of person. But then when you find, or you're in that type of relationship where you don't want it to end, you want it to work, you kind of get to the point where you do put in the work to stick around and deal with things. And it's even better when you find someone that you're compatible with and comfortable with. But I fully understand the whole get up and go thing, because I would leave you. I would leave him. I can't do the whole... I honestly really believe that his emotion or heightened emotion, the crying. Like, I find it to be performative and very manipulative, and to evoke sympathy and distract from the root cause of the issue. Like, I can't stand it. Like I said in my last review, in the beginning, I was like, oh, that's sweet. It's nice to see someone like him that can emote and not be ashamed of it. But he emotes in, like, all of the things that he don't need to be emoting for and balling the players is really just like, yo, we can't have a conversation and every time we have a conversation you cry. Like, yo, that is no, we don't like that, right? Cool. Now they go on to couples date, and the cracks are showing. So Justin is explaining what he's explaining. I still ain't follow it. He said to the lady when he was finished with his monologue, oh, like, do you understand, does that make sense? And Alexis was like, no, it doesn't make sense, because it sounds contradictory, and it did sound contradictory. And he says that he just wants Alexis to understand him, and he feels like after he said it 3 times and gone in the circle 3 times, he doesn't feel like she's understanding, so he feels like shutting down. Her response is like, no, like, I want to understand you. It's not about who's right, who's wrong. I just need you to continue talking so that I understand what's going on, because her point of view was, what did she say? She said something like, if she's like, help me help you to help us, or something like that. And everybody was like, yes. And you get it, because if you don't explain how you're feeling, then she won't ever be able to contribute to making you feel better, or making the relationship work, or understanding how he's gonna act going forward. But their relationship is becoming very interesting, and I think the emotion and is getting to her, because he's not being like, he's lacking a lot of logic that the men like to say that they're very logical. Like, I think he's lacking logic, and he's just being very emotive in all of his decision making, in his communication, in the way he's expressing himself. Because in the previews, they're at some restaurant with the other couples, and she walks away, and we obviously are not seeing all of the arguments that they're having, but you can see that they are having arguments, because he's coming back to apologize, and she literally was just like, yeah, but it doesn't change anything, because she's still hurt. And honestly, I think she's just as emotional as him. She just gives off that emotion differently, and it looks like it's deeply hurting her, because she looks hurt. Like, she looks sad. Like, she doesn't look like the same Alexis that we saw at the beginning of this season. She does look sad. And honestly, energy transfers. Somebody that's always crying, child, she has to be the strong one in the relationship, because he's the first one to shed tears. So it makes me wonder, like, when is it her chance to actually become vulnerable and be the one to cry? We don't know. Then we go to Stassi and Nate, and this is another relationship. Okay, we'll get to that. So they're at the pool discussing love. Nate says that he's in love with Stassi at 4 to 10, 40%. You fail. Stassi is shocked. She's shocked. So then she just says that, like, I thought I would be more, because for me, you're like 8 out of 10. His response was like, oh, he's just lowballing because there's an upside for growth or some shit. I was like, now you're treating this like one business bet. Like, what's his job title? A day trader? Like, he's treating it like this is a business bet. Like, oh, there's upside. No. Like, this is a relationship. This is not a business relationship. And it kind of shows, because they eventually went home, and they were having a conversation of like, well, what do you think showing that you're in love or committed looks like? And he's just like, we're gonna get the joint accounts, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that. And she's like, but I could do that with someone that I don't love, or that doesn't love me. And she's right, because you do that with a business partner. You could share the house with somebody. Hell, people share houses with strangers all the time. House shares, you can have joint accounts with people, and all of these things don't matter, because, well, they don't matter whether or not the person love or don't love you. Like, all of those things can exist. She's looking for that genuine connection and emotive connection, or emotional connection and mental connection in love. And I don't think he gets that. And from the beginning, she was very much letting a lot out and discussing stuff, and he would never actually carry the conversations. He would never reveal stuff about himself. He would never like, become more vulnerable with her. And I think like we all saw it, like I saw it, so I don't understand why her conversations about him not being open enough is coming as a surprise to him and getting him so upset. Now they go to the couples date, group therapy, whatever. And Dr. Pia asked her like, so what have you been feeling? And she listed out some really, really sad emotions, like lonely, abandoned, sad. And I really felt bad for her because it doesn't appear that way, but maybe that's what she's really feeling. He looked taken aback, and he looked upset that she felt that way, which is a very interesting way to feel when someone tells you that they're sad. So he eventually then mentions that he's feeling like he can't trust her, or he's not being trusted, or what's not. They get home, they have this discussion about it, and he is having this discussion. I think it's irrelevant what they was, not really irrelevant, but I won't go over what they were saying. I'm going to go over his demeanor and delivery of what he was saying. He was saying that, if you don't trust me, then I'm going to stop trying. If you don't believe in me, then I'm going to stop trying. That was the basis of what he said. No, his delivery was very much like he's squaring up to a man. And I didn't understand the aggression or aggressive nature of the way he was giving over that information to her. I thought that was a very interesting way to deliver that information. It wasn't done with kindness. It wasn't done with any softness as his wife. It was very much done with aggression. It was very much done with aggression, which I thought was really, really interesting. And she just, took it, and then he walked off on her. And I found that interesting because he kept saying, oh, I've signed up to therapy. For some reason, I thought the therapy had started, but it sounds like when she said, you're saying you're doing all of this, but she's like, those are futuristic things. What other things are you doing now? And I was like, wait, so he hasn't started therapy. He's signed up to go do it, but he hasn't started. So I don't know why he thinks that those actions of future actions that have not yet happened would be impactful, because then what are you doing in the interim of what is he doing in the interim of their relationship if the therapy is a futuristic thing? Because at the same time, you still need to build some emotional connection. Like, she's a woman, she needs the emotional connection, and you're a man, you need the emotional connection. You need to be able to emotionally connect with each other, and that's where the love is going to come from. But we'll see what happened. And child, we get to Kristen and Mitch, and Kristen is about to lose her mind. I'm about to lose my mind for her, because Mitch is I don't know. So with them, their scenes open up for the episode with Luna humping her bed child. Is Luna a boy or girl? A girl. Luna, no, because the girls humped. No, so Luna is a boy. Listen, we know that dog was humping his bed, and Mitch talking about him getting a promotion, which is good. So then, Kristen was then telling him her goals, and her goals of wanting to flip houses and stuff like that. Now we know if you're gonna flip houses, it's a lucrative thing to do, which means money will increase, but it also means that you're gentrifying the neighborhoods. And you could see on Mitch's face that he wasn't, one, listening, two, doesn't care, and three, he doesn't actually support what she wants to do because he thinks it's worthless. And as a woman with ambition and dreams and drive and a career, like being with a man that doesn't believe in your dreams or doesn't want to support your ambitions is a big no-no. There's some women that are very content, and then there are others that do want to also be able to own and contribute and be of some value. And if you're with a man that does not care about supporting your dreams as well, and only sees his dreams as the ones that are important, you're in the wrong relationship. And I think she's in the wrong relationship. But we'll see. So their goals definitely do not align, or their their goals in terms of what future life for them would look like doesn't align. Their love conversation comes up. Oh, their love conversation comes up, and they're at karaoke, which I thought was amazing because I'm definitely a karaoke head. And Kirsten is she's beginning to be like my favorite girl of the episode of the show. I really, 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 really like her. So they're at karaoke. She brings up, the love conversation, and she brings back up the goals conversation, and she kind of lets him know, like, yo, I want you to be able to respect my goals, and understand that it's not that I'm trying to just put people out of their houses or the area that they live in, but also I want you to listen to my dreams, because I don't think you're listening to my dreams, but you want me to listen to yours, basically. And I don't know what transpired. I can't remember, should I say, what really transpired, but she basically told him, like, don't make it seem like my walk is any less important than yours, or because it's not solely fixed on environmental stuff, that it's not important. And I agree with her. I think I appreciate the way Kirsten, like, communicates her points across to Mitch. Now, whether or not he receives it is one story, but I like the way she kind of says it without the emotion of, she's not crying, she's not yelling. She kind of just lets him know, this is how I feel, and this is how you've made me feel. Kirsten, then I think we see them picking up trash on the beach, and it was something that Kirsten kind of put together. I think that's why I understood. Kirsten helped put it together, and I was like, I'll be damned if this man is not listening to my dreams or my goals. I am doing all of the compromising in a relationship, and I'm just going on the beach to pick up trash. Yeah, we're not doing it. We don't do that over here. So anyways, they go to couples date. No, I didn't mention in the beginning. At a couples date, all the wives bought their husbands the same shirt. It's a joke. We've all seen it on TikTok, Instagram, I'm sure, of wives having their husbands turn up in the same shirt as the other person, right? Or as the other husbands. He did not want to wear it. She literally had to go into the bathroom to secretly tell him, well, yo, it's supposed to be a joke. If you don't wear it, you'll be the only guy without it, And I found it interesting that he had a problem with the shirt. And it's even him, the way he communicated that he had a problem with the shirt. He was in there cussing and swearing. And I'm like, it's a shirt. Like, your wife bought you a shirt. Like, why are you making such a big deal about it? And then it just made me realize, you know what? This is who he is. Like, he has that rebellious spirit of not wanting to be controlled. I feel like, as much as activists, people, those extreme activists that be like tree huggers and they're willing to be martyrs for the earth, they all have very much the same personality as as rebellious kids. I personally think there's a certain personality that strives in that type of environment, and it is a rebellious spirit and the need for control. The same, like, they're on either, the only difference between them and the people that help to destroy the world, they're just on either side of the spectrum, but it's the same characteristics that exist. Because his thing was, I feel like if you're giving me that shirt, it's me putting on something that I don't want to put on, and I don't like to be told what to do. And I'm like, it's a t-shirt. It is a t-shirt. Your wife has bought you a t-shirt. Why do you have an issue with wearing a t-shirt? Then he leads into, I'm not materialistic and I'm all about the environment, and I'm just like, stop using the environment as your excuse for being an asshole. Like, it was a t-shirt, your wife bought you a t-shirt, the least you could do is wear the friggin' t-shirt. Like, it's a t-shirt. Like, it's not that serious. But I feel like he just has a very rebellious and controlling way, and then he doesn't want to compromise. He's talking about he doesn't feel he's supposed to compromise himself for anyone. But Kristen is the one that's been compromising herself the entire time. She is the one that's been trying the most. and she's losing herself. And she did say that during a couple's date. She said she feels like she's losing herself a bit because she does, and she doesn't know who she is because she's allowing so many things. And I think in the previews we can see it leading in that direction where she expresses that she's losing herself, and it's not right. It's just not right. But we'll see what happens. At this point, I don't think any of them are gonna last. I really don't. It'll be interesting to see who lasts if they make it to decision day. But everybody has so many problems, and it's fundamental problems. It's not problems where it's like you could live with that, or it's not that serious. These are fundamental problems and key problems to keeping a relationship together. So it will be really interesting to see, well, who decides to stay together, who decides to leave. But I don't think any of them should be together at all. Everybody needs to just go back to the drawing board when it comes to these relationships. But guys, I will see you in my next video. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comment section about these couples, because I know it looks like it's just getting worse and we don't know who's gonna make it. So maybe you guys should just tell me who you think is gonna make it to decision day and say yes, and we could start a conversation from there. Bye.